Good morning, everybody. We are in 1 John this morning. If you're new here, I would encourage you to go back into playlists. We have Old Testament playlists. It starts at Genesis 1, in the beginning Elohim, and Matthew 1, Old Testament, New Testament. I would also highly encourage you, and in fact, I would say I require it of you to get your Bible out and read along. Do not take my word for this. Do not subcontract your faith to me. I've failed myself enough times to know that unequivocally I will fail you eventually. So don't take my word for it. Please don't. And please bear with me this morning as I'm doing my best to experience the peace that surpasses all understanding this morning on this Shabbat. But it is currently for me neither enjoyable nor restful, but in an effort to be obedient to the voice of my Father, here I am. And he just told me to pray, and I said I don't want to, and he said I don't care, and so let's pray. Father Yah, fill me up with your Ruach HaKodesh. Father, forgive me my sins. Father, give me your words. Father, remove me and my bad attitude from the equation. Father, use me. Father, humble me. Father, be indwelt in me. Father, if there's anything within the sound of my voice that's not of you, I rebuke it in the name of Yeshua. Command it to flee. Father, fill me up with your Ruach HaKodesh. Give me your strength. Give me the authority of Yeshua and the power of the Ruach. Father, and I ask these things in the name of Yeshua. Amen. John 1, page 1020 in the scriptures. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. He was in the beginning with Elohim. All came to be through him, and without him not even one came to be that came to be. In him was life, and the life was the light of men. And the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. This word is Yeshua. Yeshua is the Word made flesh. Jesus the Christ. Yeshua of Nazareth. Yehoshua. Salvation, literally, is what his name means. Emmanuel. God is with us. There was a man sent from Elohim whose name was Yochanan, John. And this one came for a witness, to bear witness of the light of Yeshua, that all might believe through him. He was not that light, but that he might bear witness of that light. This is John. John was not the light, but he was here so that he might bear witness of that light. He was the true light, which enlightens every man coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came to be through him, and the world did not know him. This is Yeshua. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. Pharisees, Sadducees, scribes, high priests. Israel in general, that called for him to be impaled upon the stake rather than released because they got spun up by the Pharisees, and Pilate wanted to pardon Yeshua, but instead Barabbas was the one that was let go. He came to his own, and his own did not receive him. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim, to those believing in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the desire of flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim. You receive him, and he gives you the authority to become. He does not make you to become children of Elohim. Hebrews 8:6, he is the mediator of the renewed covenant in between us and the Most High Yahweh, our Elohim. He reintroduces us to the Father. He gives you the authority to become children of Elohim. There's a worship song that I hate. I am a child of the one true King, is the refrain. Then act like it. Are you? Go read Isaiah, and let's see what this king was prophesied to be, prophesied to do. Let's see how that king restores you to your Creator. Or do we just pull phrases out of thin air and put them to 120 to 140 BPM pop rock beat, put some catchy bass line on it and some modded vocals and call it a worship song? I'm a child of a one true King. Deeds not words. Facta non verba. Prove it. Act like it. Because to those believing in his name, what does it mean to believe in his name? 1 Peter 2:21, for this you were called, that Messiah having suffered for us, that we might walk in his footsteps, that in him there was no sin, nor was deceit found in his mouth. That in him there was no sin. 1 John 3:4. For this you were called, that you would walk in his steps, that in you there would be no sin. 1 John 3:4, sin is lawlessness. That in you there would be the law. No lawlessness, ergo be the law. What does Hebrews 8:10 say? Our half of the covenant is renewed covenant through Yeshua, through Jesus, that the law would be on our minds and written on our hearts. And then Yahweh would be our Elohim and we would be his people. And then he will remember our sins and our lawlessness no more. What does Yeshua bring us back to? Righteousness. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim. Flip over to 1 John 5. It's page 1194. Everyone who believes that Yeshua is the Messiah has been born of Elohim, and everyone who loves the one bringing forth also loves the one having been born of him. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim, when we love Elohim and guard his commands. For this is the love for Elohim. For this is the love for Elohim. How do we love the Lord our God with everything that we've got? For this is the love of Elohim. Rabbi, teacher, what's the greatest command in the Torah? Well, there's two. The first is you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And the second is like unto it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Well, how do we know we love the Lord our God? 1 John 5 verse 3, for this is the love for Elohim. This is our love for Elohim, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not heavy, because everyone having been born of Elohim overcomes the world. And this is the overcoming that has overcome the world, our belief. Belief is not a noun, it's a verb. Belief is something you do. Read the book of James. It'll take you 30 minutes to read the entire book of James. Jacob, Yeshua's blood brother. Read what he had to say. You say you have faith without works. Your faith is dead. I will show you my faith by my works. Who is the one who overcomes the world, but he who believes that Yeshua is the Son of Elohim? Now, this phrase, he who overcomes, I've talked about it before, but I would encourage you to read Revelation 2 and 3 and underline everywhere it says he who overcomes, because he who overcomes in Hebrew is Yisrael. It's Israel. See, now that renewed covenant makes a whole lot of sense, because the day is coming when I will conclude a renewed covenant with the house of Israel, with he who is overcome with Elohim. And the condition of that is that his laws will be on our mind and written on our hearts because of Yeshua, which is prophesied. Go read Isaiah. Go read Isaiah 11 and the prophecy of the root of Jesse. And what is that root of Jesse, the king of Israel, going to do? He's going to restore the Father's people to the Father by reinstituting the law, which 1 John 3:4, the transgression of his sin. They hide this stuff right in black and white in this little book called the Bible. It's crazy. Yeah, but Paul said. You know what Paul said? Before Paul said anything, he lived an entire life of reading and studying and writing the Torah. He lived the Torah. He said in Acts 24 verse 14, paraphrasing, I believe firmly in the Torah and the prophets and the resurrection, and in this I have a clear conscience towards men and Elohim always. He also said, shall we sin all the more so that grace may abound? No, God forbid. He also said to keep the Passover. Paul said a lot of things, and if you haven't read the entirety of the Torah and lived it, and are living it currently, I would submit, I don't think you actually have the grounds with which to make arguments against Torah using the words of Paul. It's like reading the instruction manual for a piece of heavy equipment, but having never operated it, and we only read a quarter of the manual. Or worse yet, we had somebody else read to us snippets of 1/4 of the manual, and then we're gonna go chastise the people who are operating the heavy equipment. Because the Torah is something that you do. By this we know that we love the children of Elohim, when we love Elohim and guard his commands. For this is the love for Elohim, that we guard his commands, and his commands are not heavy. Amen. Back to John 1. But as many as received him, to them he gave the authority to become children of Elohim, to those believing in his name, who were born not of blood, nor of the desire of flesh, nor of the desire of man, but of Elohim. And the Word became flesh, Yeshua became flesh, and pitched his tent among us. And we saw his glory, his esteem, as of an only brought forth of a Father, complete in favor of grace and truth. Yochanan bore witness of him and cried out, saying, this was he of whom I said, he who comes after me has become before me, and because he was before me. John was prophesying the coming of Yeshua. And out of his completeness we all did receive, and favor upon favor. For the Torah was given through Moshe. The favor, the grace, and the truth come through Yeshua Messiah. Amen. It's not one or the other. It's all of it. It's not the first half or the second half of this book. It's all of it. Yeshua himself says in Matthew 5:17, I came not to destroy the Torah or the prophets, but to complete it, to be it, to embody it. The Greek word is plerao. It means to like completely be something, which is why I say embody it. For truly, truly, I say unto you, until heaven and earth passes away, not one jot, not one tittle shall pass from the Torah till all be done. Well, all ain't be done yet. I don't know about heaven because I've never been there, but earth is still here, y'all. It's all of it. Why on the Mount of Transfiguration, when Yeshua is having a bit of trepidation before his impalement upon the stake, is he comforted by Moses and Elijah, the Torah and the prophets, and the resurrection embodied in one place? Why under oath, when he's being interrogated by the Yehudim, the 13th apostle, the apostle Paul, which so many people love to say, made all the arguments for why the law of sin and death was done away with, does he swear under oath to the Yehudim that I believe firmly in the Torah and the prophets and the resurrection? It's because it's all of it. It's all of it. In fact, if Yeshua had done anything to usurp the Torah and the prophets, he would have failed the litmus test that indeed proves that he is the anointed of Yahweh or Elohim, that he is the Messiah. The Messiah could not come to destroy those things, but only to completely be it, to restore us to the Father. Go read Hebrews 8. He could not have done away with that. If he had done away with that, he would not have been Messiah, and we wouldn't have the twisted doctrines and dogmas that have become Christianity today, all built on lies following 312 AD. But I don't want to jump down those rabbit holes. The early church did all of this. Yeshua did all of this. They believed firmly in the Torah and the prophets, in the completeness of the resurrection that brought it full circle through Yeshua Messiah. No one has ever seen Elohim, the only brought forth Son, who is in the bosom of the Father, he did declare. Now this was the witness of Yochanan, of John, when the Yehudim sent from Jerusalem, priests and Levites, asked him, Who are you? And he confessed and did not deny, but confessed, I am not the Messiah. And they asked him, What then are you, Eliyahu? So he said, I am not. Are you Elijah? No. Are you the prophet? And he answered, No. Therefore they said to him, Who are you, so that we give an answer to those who sent us? What do you say about yourself? And he said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of Yahweh, as the prophet Isaiah said. And those sent were of the Pharisees. So these guys go out and they meet John. They're like, bro, who are you? Are you Elijah? No. Are you the Messiah? No. Are you the prophet? No. Wait a minute. They were looking at John as if he could have been the Messiah. He wasn't the Messiah. The resurrection. Are you Elijah? No. Are you the prophet? No. Wait a minute. They were looking for the Torah, the prophet, and the resurrection? Okay. All right, yeah. That's just a coincidence. Happens to be embedded firmly in the first chapter of the book of John, right here in the New Testament, or we could call it, and probably should call it, the Second Testament. And so they were looking at John, trying to figure out who he was, and he said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness, make straight the way of Yahweh. And these were sent of the Pharisees, and they asked him, Why then do you immerse, why are you baptizing if you are not the Messiah, nor Elijah, nor the prophet? And John answered them, saying, I immerse in water, but in your midst stands one whom you do not know, the one coming after me, who has become before me, whose sandal strap I am not worthy to loosen. He said, yeah, I baptize people in water, but there's one coming, and he's alluding to the baptism of the Holy Spirit, which will take place at the Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, Pentecost, after Yeshua goes back up into the heaven after being impaled upon the stake. Whole nother story for another time. John knew what was up. He says, there's another one coming. Yeah, I baptize in water, but there's another one coming. And on the next day, John saw Yeshua coming towards him and said, see, the Lamb of Elohim who takes away the sin of the world. Well, guess what's coming up, y'all? What feast is coming up? Exodus 12, Passover. In fact, by the time you see this, it will have already occurred. The Lamb who takes away the sin of the world, the covering of that blood. Do we want a pagan fertility ceremony revolving around a fake goddess, Ishtar, and her little rabbits and eggs that clearly represent fertility and have nothing to do with the death and resurrection of our Messiah? At a sunrise Easter service, which we're told in Malachi is an abomination to Yahweh? Or do we want to observe a feast that we're commanded to keep for all of our generations? Forever. A law forever throughout your generations. That is completely indicative of Yeshua. That is prophesying to Yeshua. That when we say, well, I'm covered by the blood of the Lamb, do you even know what that means? And you will slaughter a perfect lamb without spot or blemish. And you will put the blood on the doorposts and above the lintel of your house, so that when the destroyer comes, he passes you over, so that you are not dead to your sin. Yeshua embodied that. Yeshua did that for us. So do we want to celebrate a remembrance, a memorial that we're commanded to do forever by our Creator? Or do we want to, yeah, but those Reese's eggs are so good, T. Yeah, I know. They're so, you know what? We'll just have a little paganism because it's easy and convenient. Good idea. Well, yeah, but my pastor said, well, if he's your pastor, he ought to be reading his Bible. He ought to know these things. And if he doesn't, why is he your pastor? If he doesn't, why are you subcontracting your eternal soul to that person? On the next day, Yochanan saw Yeshua coming towards him and said, see, the Lamb of Elohim who takes away the sin of the world. This is he of whom I said, after me comes a man who has become before me, and he was before me. He's eternal. He's forever. And I did not know him, but that he might be revealed to Israel. Therefore, I came immersing in water. I came baptizing. John was baptizing so that he had a conviction to baptize. And I believe the Father's plan here was to create this serendipitous meeting. What a coincidence between John and Yeshua. And Yochanan bore witness, saying, I have seen the Spirit coming down from the heaven like a dove and remain on him. And I did not know him, but he who sent me to immerse in water said to me, upon whom you see the Spirit coming down and remaining on him, this is he who baptizes in the set-apart Spirit. Spirit coming and remaining. You know what? Why not? Because we can. I believe it's Isaiah 11. Isaiah 11, page 423 in the scriptures. A rod shall come forth from the stump of Yishai, Jesse, and a sprout from his roots shall be fruitful. The Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him. The Spirit of wisdom and understanding, the Spirit of counsel and might, the Spirit and knowledge and fear of Yahweh. And shall make him breathe in the fear of Yahweh, and he shall not judge by the sight of his eyes, nor decide by the hearing of his ears, but with righteousness he shall judge the poor, and shall decide with straightness for for the meek ones of the earth, and shall strike the earth with his rod, the rod of his mouth, and slay the wrong with the breath of his lips. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and trustworthiness the girdle of his waist. And righteousness, and righteousness, and righteousness. The Spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him. Okay, same guy we're talking about here. What's righteousness? What is this thing that this guy, this Word made flesh, the creator of the universe personified as a human being here on earth, what's this righteousness thing? Let's go to page 980, Luke 1, verse 6. And they were both righteous before Elohim, blamelessly walking in all the commands and righteousnesses of Yahuwah. Blamelessly walking in all the commands. So in the New Testament, in the Gospel of Luke, we have a biblical definition of righteousness, which is blamelessly walking in all the commands of Yahuwah. And so this Savior of the world, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, is prophesied in Isaiah that serendipitously, by coincidence, he happens to run into John. John realizes that he has the Spirit descending upon him, Isaiah 11 style, and that this Spirit is going to include right ruling and the fear of Yahweh or Elohim, and in righteousness he will judge the world. In righteousness. Blamelessly walking in all the commands of Yahweh. But that was all done away with on the stake, right? Or was it? No. No, it was not. And this is why in many churches they don't read the Bible. They read little snippets of the Bible, and they put together cutesy little messages about 3 verses on how we're going to love our brothers better today. And by the way, let's pass the plate for a 4th time, because we need to raise $17 million for the annex to the gym. And Yochanan, verse 32, back in John 1. And Yochanan bore witness, saying, I have seen the Spirit coming down from heaven like a dove, and remain on him. And I did not know him, but he who sent me to immerse in water said to me, Yahweh said to him, upon whom you see the Spirit coming down and remaining on him, this is he who immerses in the Holy Spirit, the set-apart Spirit. And I have seen and have witnessed that this is the Son of Elohim. Again, the following day, Yochanan, John, was standing with 2 of his taught ones, and looking at Yeshua walking, he said, see, the Lamb of Elohim. And the 2 taught ones heard him, and speaking, they followed Yeshua. So 2 of John's guys started following Yeshua. Great channel, by the way, following Yeshua. Shalom, brother Chris. Y'all should go check him out if you haven't already. And Yeshua, turning and seeing them following, said to them, what do you seek? And they said to him, Rabbi, which means teacher, where are you staying? And he said to them, come and see. And they went and saw where he was staying, and remained with him that day. Now it was about the 10th hour, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, if I did my math right. And Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, shut up, rooster, was one of the 2 who had heard from John and followed him. First he found his own brother Simon and said to him, we have found the Messiah, which means the anointed. And he brought him to Yeshua, and looking at him, Yeshua said, you are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Peter, which means as a stone, or Petra, or Kepha, or whatever. On the following day, Yeshua wished to go to Galilee, and he found Philip and said to him, follow me. And Philip was from Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him whom Moshe wrote of in the Torah and the prophets, Yeshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. We have found him whom Moshe wrote of in the Torah and the prophets. But none of this has anything to do with each other. The Old Testament's for the Jews, the New Testament's for the Christians. It makes no sense why it's in the same book. They're not related. You shouldn't read all of it. You definitely shouldn't read all of it in context. Are you kidding me? We have found him whom Moshe wrote of in the Torah and the prophets, Yeshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And you know what? I have several verses listed here one of which is Acts 24:14, which is Paul, again, testifying to the Yehudim. I believe firmly in the Torah and the prophets and the resurrection. And Isaiah 11:1-6, which we just read part of earlier. But another verse comes to mind, which is John 14:15. Shut up, meat. John 14:15. If you love me, you shall guard my commands. Yeshua answered him, if anyone loves me, he shall, verse 23, he shall guard my word, and my Father shall love him, and we shall come to him and make our stay with him. He who does not love me does not guard my words, and the word which you hear is not mine, but of the Father who sent me. That was John 14, 15 verse 10. If you guard my commands, you shall stay in my love, even as I have guarded my Father's commands and stay in his love. Excuse me? Well, that's all done away with. Okay, copy. John 12 verse 44. Then Yeshua cried out and said, he who believes in me believes not in me, but in him who sent me. And he who sees me sees him who sent me. Shall we continue? Please forgive me. Today I'm in a rare mood. John 7, verse 16, Yeshua answered them and said, my teaching is not mine, but his who sent me. If anyone desires to do his desire, he shall know concerning the teaching, whether it is from Elohim or whether I speak for myself. He who speaks from himself is seeking his own esteem, but he who seeks the esteem of the one who sent him is true, and no unrighteousness is in him. Did not Moshe give you the Torah? Yet not one of you does the Torah. Why do you seek to kill me? John 5, verse 45. Do not think I shall accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moshe, in whom you have set your expectation. For if you believed Moshe, you would have believed me, since he wrote about me. But if you do not believe in his writings, how shall you believe my words? But if you do not believe in his writings, how shall you believe my words? This is all just in the book of John, by the way. They hide this stuff everywhere in this Bible. Back to John 1, verse 45. Philip found Nathanael and said to him, we have found him whom Moshe wrote of in the Torah and the prophets, Yeshua of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said to him, is it possible for anything good to come out of Nazareth? Nice, Nathanael. Snarky much? And Philip said to him, come and see. Yeshua saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, see, truly an Israeli in whom there is no deceit. Deceit, no lies, only speaks truth. 1 Peter 2:21, read that. For this you were called, for Yeshua having suffered for our sins, that we should follow in his footsteps, that in him there is no sin, 1 John 3:4, transgression of the law, that in him there is no unrighteousness, that in him he is righteous, that in him there is no sin and no deceit is found in his mouth. That again gets back to all the prophecies that point to Yeshua being Messiah in the first place. He could not have said anything that was deceitful compared to the entirety of the Torah and the prophets. It is not possible for him to do away with that and be Messiah. That is a biblical truth. So pick one. Was the law done away with, or is Yeshua Messiah? If the law is done away with, should we all go fornicate? Should we go steal? Let's go murder. Let's go do some murdering, right? Because the law was done away with. right? No. What was done away with was your death sentence under the law. The law didn't go away. The death sentence you earned in your ignorance of it went away. But now that you know, shall we sin all the more so that grace may abound? No, God forbid. That's the words of Paul. What about Hebrews 10, verse 26? Yeah, because we can. If my hands will work, since they're freezing cold and I'm borderline shivering at this point. Whatever. Harden up, right? Hebrews 10, verse 26. I want to kill that thing so bad. For if we sin purposefully, after we have received the knowledge of the truth, there no longer remains a slaughter offering for sins, but some fearsome anticipation of judgment and a fierce fire which is about to consume the opponents. Anyone who has disregarded the Torah of Moshe dies without compassion on the witness of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much worse punishment do you think shall he deserve who has trampled the Son of Elohim underfoot, counted the blood of the covenant by which he was set apart as common, and insulted the spirit of favor? How much worse do you think you deserve now that you know better, yet you did it anyway? Have trampled the Son of Elohim, Yeshua, Jesus the Christ, underfoot, and insulted the spirit of grace. Counted the blood by which your new covenant, renewed covenant was established as common. I'm covered by the blood. I can do whatever I want. I got my Jesus. No. That is not what it says. If you can be killed without compassion for transgressing, anyone who has disregarded the Torah of Moshe dies without compassion on the witness of 2 or 3 witnesses. How much worse is it going to be for y'all who have trampled Jesus, Yeshua, underfoot and did whatever the hell you wanted to do by simply thinking that it was okay, you were covered by the blood? What was done away with was your death sentence under the law. What was not done away with was you needing to keep the law now that you know. "47. Yeshua saw Nathanael coming towards him," back in John 1, verse 47. "Yeshua saw Nathanael coming toward him and said of him, 'See, truly an Israeli in whom there is no deceit.' Nathanael said to him, 'From where do you know me?' Yeshua answered and said to him, 'Before Philip called you, when you were under a fig tree, I saw you.' And Nathanael said to him, 'Rabbi, you are the Son of Elohim. You are King of Israel.'" You are King of Israel. King of who, what? Go read Isaiah. King of Israel. You know what kings have? Rules. Laws. What does Yeshua say? "Come to me, all ye who labor. My yoke is easy. My burden is light." Guess what? There's a yoke. There's a burden. Literally out of his own mouth. "Come to me, all ye who labor. My yoke is easy. My burden is light." There's still a yoke. There's still rules. Kings have rules. Kings have laws. You can't run a kingdom without laws. Luckily, we know what they are. They're hidden right here in this little book. And we know from reading 1 John 5 earlier, they're not heavy. They're not hard. These commands are a blessing. Deuteronomy 28, "If you diligently obey the voice of Yahweh your Elohim, then you will be blessed." It's not difficult. It's not difficult at all. It's a freaking blessing to do it. And so Nathanael answered him and said, "Rabbi, are you the Son of Elohim? You are the sovereign of Yisrael, the King of Israel." Yeshua answered and said to him, "Because I said to you, I saw you under a fig tree, you believe?" Really, bro? "Greater than that you shall see." And he said to them, "Truly, truly, I say to you, from now on you shall see the heaven opened and the messengers of Elohim ascending and descending upon the Son of Adam." He said, you hang with me, you're going to see stuff you ain't never seen before. Angels and coming and going and all kinds of signs and wonders. And that's John 1. Thank you for bearing with me today as I do my broken best to try and be obedient to the Father. And the conviction He has put on my heart to read this word with y'all. And again, I apologize that today is the type of day where I feel like I'm in battle. This has been a battle for me. And I'm sorry if that has made this message inaccessible to you, or turned some of y'all off. I'm not going to complain because I'm blessed. I'll just tell you simply that there are days when the enemy makes himself known, and when you do your best to live a life that's pleasing to the Most High and to follow the convictions He lays on your heart, and you're in a position to touch many thousands of lives each week. And thank you, by the way, for being here. Thank you for letting me into your life each week, and thank you for tolerating me even though I'm this, and I get it. When you're in a position to touch so many people each week, there comes times when the enemy just turns on the warfare. And that's all right, because I'm built for warfare. I'm pretty good at it at this point in my life. Me and him have been doing battle for a long time, and I know who I serve, and I know what my capabilities are, and I know what his capabilities are. So I ain't sweating it. But it's hard to do warfare and read this book at the same time. It's hard to do warfare and get up out of bed some days. It's just hard to do warfare. And so, thank you for tolerating me. Thank you. Shalom.